Okay, SG buses, you should hear this as well, because I have some really promising news to share with all of you. And remember, this only happened when several members within Bus Assets and, most importantly, Bus Planning League got ousted. And as a result of that, 97/E was no longer on the cutting board, and both of them eventually got extended to Tengah. And that was just one of them. I do understand that, like, because of like cost issues, having to save money, not having enough drivers, and stuff like that. That's why they had to be a little bit more conservative. But there are some promising plans, either confirmed or not confirmed, that I'm going to share with you. So you remember the plans to extend these services, right? There was the whole this 121 to Marina Center, and then there's the 966 covering 853M, and then it'll terminate at Geylang Lorong 1, right? So both of these, they have been like pushed down to lower priority, which means it's not really a pressing issue. You can just take it as like on hold indefinitely until they have enough money. And the same goes for like the Bendy bus procurements, the electric Bendy bus procurements. It's all put on hold. But in exchange for putting these on hold, remember last year, or was it really early this year? I cannot remember. It was when my group of friends met up with Maxon, and then they shared the news about this, regarding this. Do you guys remember that I once said something about 95, instead of going to Geylang Lorong 1, they are considering, and it's just a 50-50 thing back then, to extend this, basically chop off the GL1 sector and replace it with service, not replace it, but tell people to take service 31, and in exchange, they were going to send this to Changi Airport. So now, there is a reason why this thing eventually got shelved. Because they actually have something even more exciting that's coming. Again, this one is not confirmed, but it all lines up with what they had, quietly revealed back then. Not to the public, but like quietly revealed. And honestly, I suspect some people inside the Bus Planning League might have stumbled upon like our videos. It's just a suspicion. I'm not going to say that they definitely, stumbled upon our videos, but keep in mind, what is similar to 985? The one that I have always been saying, and this is also a plan to actually make this service useful. And you wouldn't believe it. When I heard this, I was like, okay, it's in line with whatever we have been talking about. Again, this is not confirmed, but they are planning to do this, and it's quite exciting. But I was like, yo, they're actually going to do it. Like, I heard this like a couple minutes ago, and I'm here sharing it with you. So the answer is the moment you've been waiting for. And this is why I mentioned SG buses, because this was one of his favorite services. And I believe they actually listen to us. Because it's not just okay, I don't know the exact route. They're still planning. It's still in the early planning stages. They just got rid of 95, as in the idea for 95. They are planning this. And not just this. Remember about how many enthusiasts, not just myself, but they were literally making videos, talking about it openly, trying to get people to push the whole idea of this service into this place, right? it's actually happening. Again, whether they will implement this is 50-50. But you gotta keep in mind, it's just like how the evidence that you can see of the electric Betty bus procurements, even though they're on hold right now, it's the fact that Ang Mo Kio Depot has 50 Betty bus lots, right? That's a visible form of evidence. Now, this one, it's different. It's not visible, let's get that right, but it lines up with whatever previous plans that they had. Like, for example, I told you guys that 965, there were plans to extend it to Buangkok, but got shelved midway. And then they planned something better by giving 965 new catchment within Woodlands, which is why the amendment got shelved for like 4 years, I believe. The same thing goes for this. They shelved 985, but now they're in the early stages of deciding what route, like basically what to do with 506. Do we keep it express? Do we convert it to a trunk and just rebrand the service altogether or something along those lines? Because I think in this day and age, it doesn't really make sense for 506 to be express anymore. Now that this new LTA bus planning lead team is more open-minded, maybe this could be a good chance to not implement the express fare on 506. I think that's still worth it, to be honest, especially when airport connectivity is quite pressing in the sense that. But keep in mind, when I say pressing, I don't mean you temporarily send the bus there and then when the MRT is done, you withdraw the bus. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about which areas in future would still lack a direct connectivity or just have like really bad access to the airport. So this is kind of like thinking long term and also, you know, how do I put it? It's like strengthening a bus network in general is how you would put it. And I honestly think this is what everybody has been like secretly wishing for. If it's not somewhere like that we envisioned, like reviving Bedok Reservoir or uh, sending it to Tampines North, like what I myself suggested, and then some people were like on board with like my personal idea, but even though this is not exactly what we have envisioned, even though some people might have envisioned this, at least it's kind of in line with whatever people had hoped for 506 before that idiotic previous team decided to can the entire rationalization of sorry, before that idiot team decided to proceed with the rationalization of 506. Which again, let me remind you, I've mentioned this a couple of times, it is not because of Downtown Line, it's because the service in terms of fare recovery rate was just not profiting enough. Not really profiting, but it was like struggling to sustain itself, especially during the Seaward era. So in short, this is like in line with what everybody had been wishing for this service to eventually be enhanced and to just wipe off any delusions that the bloggers might have had about trying to extend this thing to the Northeast when this thing was never even meant for the Northeast in the first place. They just found like the closest place to terminate. They want to Bidadari, but SBS counter-proposed to use Serangoon in the meantime, so now it ended up not at Bidadari, but, at Serangoon. So I told you guys the whole story before. A couple of times. I don't know, I think I told you guys like many, many, many times, but who even bothers to remember? Like, I think some people just don't bother to remember, but okay. That aside, right, I'm also wondering how they would actually can the entire, like, shelve the entire Serangoon sector. And I honestly think if you were to can the entire Serangoon sector, you need to justify that there's nobody taking it to Serangoon. Yes, you could maybe exit to Bidadari and maybe let it wind back a little bit. Who knows? But ultimately, I still think, like, with the direction that they're heading towards now, let's just assume maybe it's like using Barley Road East or something along those lines. Let's just assume this thing is not going to stay as express. Because the further you extend this thing, the more I think this thing will be rebranded as a trunk. But please don't take my word for it. This is still at the early stages, and there is, it's a 50-50, right? There is still a chance that they might not proceed with this, but I'm just telling you the inner workings and what they have in mind right now. So honestly, even if it fails, right, at the very least, we can say at least they've tried. So nobody could say that like, oh, the league isn't doing anything. No, they're doing something. It's just that because of financial issues and everything, they have to like put some things on hold right now. So hopefully everybody understanding. I don't want to hear people saying things like, you know, the route planning team sucks. Well, they sucked, but now they don't really suck anymore. Like, let's be honest. They even saved 97/E. And Iswaran apparently is out of Singapore right now, so good riddance. Thankfully, that guy can no longer cut buses. Because he tried to cut Service 2, he tried to cut 170, he tried to cut 852, and good riddance. I'm not gonna elaborate further. So keep in mind, the final aim of the... Okay, maybe the amendment won't happen in one go, but what they have in mind for this service is this to this. So basically, I don't know if Bidadari would be kept, but this is definitely going to be taken away, and the Jurong East sector is going to be taken away. So just think of it that the Princess Elizabeth Primary School, that pair of bus stops, is going to be the last unchanged bus stop, and then everything westwards of Bukit Batok West Avenue 3 would be changed. Like, maybe they would push it up with Bukit Batok West Avenue 8, or they would push it up Bukit Batok Road. I have no idea. Maybe they would take like the fastest way inside Tengah. Who knows? I'm not gonna speculate because I'll let you guys speculate. But I'm just here to give you guys the news. So this is exciting news. And then what else have I heard? Okay, this one honestly, it's kind of a no-brainer. So initially they said that like they wanted to have like one long service. I'm not sure if it's going to be peak hours only or it's a full day service, because as you remember, the very last, according to my friend whom tried to like search up things, he confirmed that like 129 was the very last ever new service, not counting 104 because that was literally a renumber of 43M. I already told you about the 43M renumbering, I think like 11 months ago, before the renumbering was actually a thing, right? I told you guys beforehand, but that one doesn't count because it's a renumber. But 129, if I'm not mistaken, and if my friend is correct, it is the very last service that it's full day and it's like long enough to be considered a proper long distance bus service. So this new bus service is apparently supposed to be the next, like, after 129, like, Hisashiburi no Tokyori bus路線, how do I say it? In a very long time. How do I translate it? Like, oh my god, my English is regressing. Like, for a very long time, there has been no new long, quote-unquote, long-distance bus service. And right now, they finally have plans for a long-distance bus service. Even if it's peak hour only, I don't blame them. But this one, I don't know if it's going to be peak hour only or a full-day bus service. And then there's another standard bus service. Then I also received the news that there is going to be, okay, not surprising, it's a zone nest state anyway, there's going to be this and there's going to be this. I don't know if these two are supposed to be said long distance service and said standard bus service that they have been introducing ever since like the very late BCM era / BCEP era. I'm not sure if it is, but the details are as follows. It's vague, but better than nothing. Okay, so apparently this is not a long distance wait, what if the long distance service... No, it's not... Okay, the long distance service is in 506 because it's supposed to be a new service, so okay, it's not that. But these two are definitely from Tengah, so this one is from... Okay, 874 has been confirmed. It is Tengah to Choa Chu Kang. It's just a neighborhood service. And then the next one would also be a neighborhood service. It's Tengah to Hillview. And I wonder if this thing was basically born from a rejected idea, because it's like, was it Lo Yanling? She she proposed like a service from Hillview to Bukit Gombak, but they got rejected. And LTA used 973 to justify why extending, as an example of why extending any existing bus service to Hillview wouldn't be a good idea. So that one was canned. But then since this mentions Hillview, right? I was thinking, what if this is actually the quote unquote rejected 973 extension, which thankfully got rejected. Otherwise, Hume Avenue wouldn't have a bus. I would say, like people have been saying. Yeah, my friends are messaging me about the news. Okay, so you can think of it as a rejected 973's extension and also a rejected 994. So 994, they rejected it and they decided not to proceed with Bukit Gombak and they replaced it with 871 serving near Bukit Gombak MRT. Actually, it's just right beside it. It's just not along Bukit Batu West Avenue 5, like you know that station outside Bukit Gombak MRT. So, Jesus. Okay, so this could be a combination of both failed ideas and then they just tried to like revive it. So this one hasn't been confirmed yet, but as in 873 hasn't been confirmed yet, but this one has been confirmed. Again, the short distance services might be referring to these two. The long distance service, I honestly doubt it. Unless there was like some miscommunication and then they somehow said long distance service equals 506, despite that not being a new service. Okay, but yo, unless this is a hint that unless there was like some miscommunication and what they actually meant was that it's a long distance bus service, but it's kind of like the 43 and renumbering to 104, and instead they're trying to rebrand 506 as a new long distance bus service from Tengah to Changi Airport. Why? Because Jeff Xiao is like in charge of Tengah and he has the power to rig things in his favor, right? So it all makes sense. And I'm not saying this like in a negative way. I'm just saying technically the minister has some power to rig bus amendments in his favor, especially when it concerns his residents and whatever the residents want. So it kind of like falls in line to what we're thinking. Because here's the thing, this is not criticism. You have also realized that ever since RW and whichever other toxic boss had been outside of LTA, I never really criticize them anymore. This is just an explanation of how everything that we have heard is starting to come together like a puzzle, like you know. And sadly, I don't really have any news for this or this. Like both of them were supposed to be extended to Bidadari, but you can take it that like since 506 is like getting out already, depending on whether you know bus captain welfare they want to keep this as a loop, I don't know, like there's no place to lay over these two services. 82 is not the problem. 81 is the problem because this thing is as a long loop service, it's prone to a lot of frequency headway issues. So if anything, if you want to keep this as a loop, I'm fine with it. This thing, honestly, I still think you should find some way to terminate it at Bidadari. Okay, and then some people have also been talking about like how Pongo Coast ITH, there is a hidden service, right? That one, it's 381 because it's going to change direction. I mean, like, it's going to become Pongo Coast to Pongo Central Interchange loop. It's going to loop inside Pongo Central Interchange, if I'm not mistaken. So the hidden service is 381, and you don't really have to, like, guess that. So I guess that's it for the updates. Enjoy. And hopefully we will get some news of the Vedi buses soon. But at least the 50 lots are indication of progress, regardless of how long said progress is going to materialize.